Today, UFC 297 is in the books, and Dricus du Plessis is now your middleweight champion of the world. And what about all of the male Canadian fighters who all were served a hot plate of L's at UFC 297? And will Israel Adesanya accept the challenge of Dricus to fight for the middleweight championship? If so, will it be in Africa or will it be at UFC 300? All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. We right back at it. We right back with it. But first we want to start with Go Ravens. We want to start with Lamar Jackson leading the Ravens to another win. Now we headed to the AFC Championship against the Kansas City Chiefs. What's up now? What's up now? Anyway, let's go ahead and we'll move forward. UFC 297 went down on Saturday night, in which in the main event, Dricus du Plessis defeated Sean Strickland via 5-round decision. So, before I get into this fight, I just want to say, I'm not going to cover this entire card, like every single fight in detail and everything, because it was kind of a weird fight card. There was a few highs, but there was a lot of lows on this card. You know what I'm saying? So we're not going to cover it all. We're just going to, we're going to tap around. You know what I'm saying? We're going to tap dance around on a few of the facts as something was in my eye. So let's start out. The main event. Dricus goes out there. He defeats Sean Strickland. Here's the thing. I know there's a lot of argument back and forth because this went to a 5-round decision on if Sean won or if Dricus won. I can honestly say I could see it going both ways. I picked Dricus to win this fight, and I believe Dricus did win 3 rounds to 2 via his favor. I also felt like Dricus landed the more powerful shots. Now, I know his face was way more beat up, which he even spoke about Sean Strickland's tremendous jab, in which every time it landed, it felt like he was being hit with rocks in his face, which had to be horrible to try to survive that. But I feel like with all the body kicks he was landing, Sean Strickland was really checking a lot of the leg kicks the first and second round, but as the fight went on, he really kind of let off the gas of checking all those leg kicks. And I feel like overall, because du Plessis is so powerful, I feel that he landed the stronger shots, even though, the score counters actually had Sean Strickland as landing more significant strikes. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I'm just going to say I could see the fight going either way. So if Sean would have won, it wouldn't have shocked me. But I personally think that Dricus du Plessis did just enough, just a little bit more, to be able to beat the former champion Sean Strickland. So with all that being said, now that fight is in the books, after the fight, Dricus is on the mic. DC asked him, where he wanted to go from here, who he wanted to fight, you know how that goes. And Dricus brought up the point that I guess Adesanya was there. I don't personally know, so I'm not sure if he was there or not, but at least Dricus believed he was there, and he thought he was going to be, put in the octagon with him for a face-off, but he was not. He didn't do that. So I'm not sure if Adesanya was there or if he wasn't there. I don't know if he was in the arena or not, to tell you the truth. Because, I'm hearing this from Dricus in the post-fight press conference. And, after you've been getting bashed in the head for 5 rounds, some things might be a little foggy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure if Adesanya was there. Here's the deal. It's looking like that the next fight for Dricus will probably be against Israel Adesanya, but of course, let's not be stupid here. The reality of it is, in that scenario, Adesanya is going to call the shot. So if Adesanya wants to face him at 300, it'll happen. If he wants to face him on African soil, it'll happen that way. So we'll see what happens, but I doubt the UFC would be dumb enough to have another contender or anyone else fight Dricus for that belt when they now have the ability to make this storybook ending fight. And you know, Adesanya's all into his stories. I'm the main character in this movie. You know what I'm saying? Now that they have the ability to be able to do that fight, they've got all the B-roll footage in the world to sell that fight, so on and so forth. They're going to do that fight one way or the other, and I don't see them, and if they do this, they're stupid. They should not risk having Dricus fight anybody else. Put Dricus on ice as long as Adesanya is coming back at some point this year and make it happen. Because you don't want to lose that fight again the way they lost it when Adesanya got beat by Sean Strickland. So I feel like that's probably going to be Dricus' next fight, although I'm not sure when it's going to happen. I honestly believe that that's left up to Adesanya. Nevertheless, that was the fight. That's how it went down. Let's move on. In the co-main event, Raquel Pennington goes out there and defeats MBS Mayra Bueno Silva to become the new bantamweight champion of the world. Okay, so no disrespect to these two women, but this was not a good fight. Like, it wasn't an entertaining fight. And neither woman really seemed like, I know that they took it serious. I know they seriously wanted to have that belt, but they didn't take it serious in a way that we're used to seeing a lot of contenders and champions step into the octagon. In this case, both of them were contenders because the championship was vacant. And here's all I'm saying. If you compare it to other female fighters, Zhang Weili, when she steps in the octagon, is completely prepared. She looks prepared. Her physicality shows she's prepared. She comes in a really good shape. She's not going to tire out after the first couple of rounds. No matter how much activity, she's ready to go. You can say a lot about where Rose Namajunas is in her career, but when she was champion, she was prepared. She showed up prepared. Now, when she steps into Carla Esparza, it might not be a fun fight, but Rose is prepared. You see what I'm saying? Back in the day, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, prepared. She was not going to step into the octagon unless she was completely ready to go, drained from the weight cut and everything. The woman was going to make the walk and put her best foot forward. In this fight, bro, so starting with MBS was gassed like early in the second round. And then she just, like, the more tired she became, all of her defense went out the window. She just started walking into elbows and walking into shots from Pennington. I don't even know what to say about that. So, I mean, and I like MBS, but I'm just not, I don't know what happened. And she was like doing a lot of reaching. Like, she was reaching, like Pennington would catch her with these shots, right? With these jabs. Sometimes with an elbow, she would catch her. And MBS is just reaching and walking forward toward her. Just reaching and getting nailed with shots and still reaching. Then she gets completely gassed and tired to the point where there's a point in the fourth round and at the end of the fifth round where she's laying on her back on the ground. Like she's trying to play it off like she's inviting Rocky to come down and let's battle on the ground. But really, she was just tired and she couldn't make it back to her feet. And it's like the pace early on in that fight did not dictate that you, or did not show me that you would be that tired. So in my opinion, I don't think she came in the best of shape. Now, maybe she had an injury of some sort that she came into the fight with and she couldn't be in her best shape, but she did not come in with the best shape, honestly. So, that's that. On Raquel Pennington's side, Raquel Pennington has been criticized about this for her entire career, but she does not listen to her corner. Her corner gives her advice, tells her what to do, gives her tactics, gives her a game plan, and she might do it. Might is a stretch. She might do this for 1 minute, 2 minutes of the round, and then she just starts doing her own thing, and it's not doing her own thing in a way that always works out for her. Now, she did win the fight, but in my opinion, she was definitely going to lose that fight if MBS hadn't just came in with 1 round's worth of cardio, and that was the end of the fight, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? So, nevertheless, Raquel Pennington wins via 5-round decision. You could tell that she is in my opinion, she's a very humble fighter, a very humble individual. You kind of get the feeling that she's not used to bigging herself up or, speaking a lot about herself, because when DC was talking to her after the fight, it was like you could tell she was happy, but she wasn't overjoyed. She didn't really I don't even know if she believed that the moment was happening. But we've seen a lot of fighters win a championship and they're in disbelief, but there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of energy. She didn't have any of that. Now, I'm not saying that to knock her, but she just speaks a lot to her character. So, I don't know where they're going to go. I know what fight they're going to try to make next, but as far as the division, I don't know where they're going to go after that. No doubt that the next fight is going to be Juliana Pena versus Pennington. That's just what it is, bro. So that's definitely going to be the next fight. After that fight, I don't know where they go. I guess if Pena wins and MBS gets another win, they could try to drum her back out there in another fight for the belt against Pena, because that's where a lot of the heat was. But I don't know what they're going to do with that division. So let's move on from there. Let's talk about one of the now we're just going to basically move from those 2 fights. We're just going to kind of just kind of tap on some of these other fights. Just a few little points. Neil mother effing Magny goes out there and defeats Mike Malott. So here's the deal, bro. I'm watching this fight, and round 1, I'm like, well, looks like my pick is secured of Mike Malott, because it doesn't seem like Neil Magny is able to do a lot against this man, especially once Mike Malott takes him down to the ground. That was round 1. Round 2, it really became sad. Like, I'm watching round 2, and I'm like, bro, Neil Magny is switched off. Like, he's not even here. I don't even know if he knows he's in the arena. Like, he's switched off. Like, what is his deal, bro? Like, I know you game plan for this. He always comes in shape. He seems to be a fairly cerebral guy, as far as game plans and tactics, you would think. And so I'm looking at this. He doesn't have the biggest fighter IQ, but seems like he's got a pretty decent fighter IQ. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, bro, is Neil Magny even here? That was the second round, okay? So it's kind of building up, right? So then the third round, I'm watching this, and Mike Malott is still doing his thing. He's controlling him. He's doing whatever. Now, my feed on watching the fight on ESPN Plus is maybe roughly about, because I paused it a couple of times, so let's say it's like a minute behind, right? So I'm watching Mike Malott sit there and do work and hold this man down and all this stuff. So I'm like, well, here, let me just kind of hit the little 10-second skip ahead a few times, because I really don't need to see Mike Malott on the ground with this dude for this much time, because at that point, Neil Magny wasn't doing anything. Then I skip ahead 10 seconds, and now all of a sudden I see Neil Magny on top, and I'm like, whoa, what happened here? So I stopped skipping, but I'm thinking, okay, we'll see how this plays out, but I mean, Mike Malott just has to survive here, and then he's going to win by decision. But one thing I kept thinking, I was thinking this in the second round, is I was thinking, why doesn't Neil Magny, where is the fight? You know what I'm saying? Where are the cojones? You know what I'm talking about? Where's the gumption? You know what I'm saying? Y'all feeling the word. Where's it at, though? That's what we want to know. Where it at? You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, Neil Magny, just needs, I mean, he's been getting beat up this whole fight. He was getting beat up the whole press week. You know, like no one was giving this man a shot at winning this fight. It was like he wasn't even there at the pre-fight press conference. You know, they was giving questions to Mike Malott. He's the Michael Chandler of Canada. He's rah trying to rally everybody. And I'm like, why doesn't Neil Magny just like, you know, come on, bro, like show us what you got. You know what I'm saying? And then back to where I was at after the 10-second skip, when I see Neil Magny on top, and Neil starts raining down those punches on Mike Malott, and eventually Mike Malott tries to roll for a leg, which was, you know, he was so fatigued and tired. Horrible decision. He should have used that scramble to stand back up, and he probably could have ran around the octagon to get away from Neil Magny and won by decision. But he goes for that leg, and when Neil Magny regains top position and starts raining down punches on him, and Mike Malott has no answer and gets flattened out and he's covering up, and the referee is like, well, this is Canada's boy. I don't want to call this. I don't want it to be a riot. I mean, he gave Mike Malott, like, bro, he gave him an extra 5-minute rounds worth of chances to try to get back into the fight. And he's getting pounded out. And at that moment, I really just wanted Neil Magny just to scream at the top of his lungs that I'm Neil mother effing Magny, bro. Bing. Bing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because at that moment, you was just like, yeah, Neil, you know what I'm saying? Do that damage. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, including me, everybody counted you out for the whole week, for the whole build-up of the fight. This is your chance. And Neil Magny delivers. The fight is stopped with like 13 seconds left. You know, Mike Malott, if he wasn't crying, he should have been crying. The Canadian fans is crying because not one male Canadian won on the entire card. And then after it was all said and done, you know, Neil Magny, humble in victory, did his thing, shouted out his children, said he's coming home with 2 checks, and shout out to Neil Magny for going out there, getting the job done, and letting them know who Neil mother effing Magny is. That was awesome to see. Now, let's kind of get off into the rest of the show. This is how I would classify, as I'm checking my notes, this is how I would classify UFC 297, if I could sum it up. And I wanted to go through the Mike Malott fight because this leads into what I'm saying. This is the note that I wrote down at the end of UFC 297. MMA is the greatest sport in the world because it doesn't care to break your heart. And that was exactly what happened on Saturday night. Look, bro, all of them fans piled in, and Mike Malott did his best Michael Chandler impression to try to rile everyone up. And he goes out there, and after every male fighter who was Canadian on the card is lost, Mike Malott comes shy of 13 seconds from getting a win because he gassed out. Broke Canada's heart. How about Chris Curtis versus Marc-Andre Barriault? You know, now, this was a fight that I think it just kind of depends on what you like as far as your fights, but a lot of people were coming down on this fight because maybe it wasn't the type of action that they wanted. I actually really enjoyed this fight because I'm a Chris Curtis fan, so I enjoy seeing his boxing. But on this fight, Marc-Andre did not get the win. And, you know, Marc-Andre had a very measured approach. You could tell that he wanted to counter-strike the counter-striker. You know, generally Chris Curtis is a counter-strike artist, and Marc-Andre didn't want to go first. He wanted to take Chris Curtis out of his game and allow Chris Curtis to go first, which frustrated Chris Curtis. Nevertheless, though, one might say that had Marc-Andre, had he fought in his normal way of just plodding forward, maybe he could have gotten the win. But nevertheless, Chris Curtis goes out there and gets the win. Broke Canada's heart. Let's move on. Movsar Evelev goes out there and he defeats Arnold Allen. You know, Arnold Allen was almost like an adopted son of Canada. Here's the thing. There's a lot of controversy over some grounded knees with Arnold Allen. I know the rules are a little bit different in Canada in that particular instance. Not sure what was going on there. Mark Goddard might have cost Arnold Allen that win, or at least changed the ending of that fight. But nevertheless, Arnold Allen goes out there. Tremendous showing by him, including when he cinched up a ninja choke and Evelev almost broke his own neck to rotate out of it. He pretty much gator rolled himself to escape it. But you know, that was definitely a really good fight. Definitely back and forth. Awesome to see. Good showing for Arnold Allen. I don't think he loses any stock after taking that loss there. But yet again, Canadian fans are sad. Brad Katona versus Garrett Armfield. Loses a 3-round decision to Garrett Armfield. Once again, Canada is sad. Charles Jourdain loses to Sean Woodson. Not only is Canada sad after Jourdain lost, but let's also talk about the very end when Bruce Buffer is reading the winner of the fight, being Sean Woodson, but chooses to add a CH at the beginning of Sean and announce it like Chon, and you're like, and so the audience and Charles Jourdain thought he was saying Charles, and it just kind of blurred out in your mind. It was like a weird brain fog moment. So Charles Jourdain reacts and thinks he won. Sean Woodson reacts and thinks he lost, and the audience reacts and thinks Jourdain won as well, only to have DC crush everybody's spirits, everybody's hopes in the entire arena, as he did through the majority of his career, and break the news that Jourdain lost. The only person on this entire show that had a tougher drive back to the hotel than Charles Jourdain or back to their home was Mike Malott, who drove back crying, had his head out the window. I don't care how cold it was, just broke down. You know what I'm saying? So, once again, Canada was sad and heartbroken twice in this, because they was probably worried Charles lost. Then they thought he won. Then DC crushed their hopes and said, y'all lost. City versus Tavares. This was an outstanding fight, action-packed, closely contested. I actually scored it for Tavares, just barely, but I could definitely see where a lot of people had City winning. Nevertheless, Tavares goes out there, gets the win. These two had already fought before, and I don't think anything was really settled, so they might have to step in the octagon for a third time, because you know, I don't think a lot of people are crying robbery, but it was definitely a world where you could have seen City as getting that win. Tremendous fight, though. Definitely back and forth. Both men were wobbled. City wobbled more than Tavares, but it was definitely a good fight. Polyana Viana is defeated by Jillian Robertson. This was a high point for Canada, because at least somebody from Canada was winning. So hopefully, you know, she can put together a nice little string of wins, and we might be able to see she ends up becoming a contender. But shout out to Jillian Robertson. She goes out there, she gets the win. Sam Patterson goes out there and makes short work of Liness. And I mean, it was short. It was like one of those things where you was getting settled in. You had your salsa and chips. You might have had you a beer. You was ready to watch this fight, see how it was going to go down. And then boom, boom, boom. Well, let's pack it up, boys. Close the jar of salsa. Put the beer back in the fridge. We'll just wait till the next fight, because that one was over fast. That's how fast it was. I mean, it was over. Nevertheless, shout out to him. He goes out there, he gets the win. I believe he was actually the underdog, so that was a good performance by him to go out there, get the job done. Next, as I check my notes, we had Jazz the Vicious goes out there and defeats Priscilla Cachoeira. And what I'm going to predict is probably Priscilla's last fight in the octagon. You know what I'm saying? And Jazz the Vicious goes out there and put a beating on her, probably because she was still angry at the girl missing weight and causing their fight to go up a weight class. She actually did Cachoeira a favor by, going ahead and agreeing to the fight being one weight class higher because Cachoeira couldn't make the weight. But shout out to Jazz the Vicious for going out there and getting the win. And then, bro, Jimmy Flick, bro, goes out there. He does work. I mean, bro, this was just sad to see. Malcolm Gordon hasn't had the best UFC career. And it was like the UFC served you up an easy win on a platter. It's in Canada. It's in front of your people. Not only do you miss weight, but you go out there in the first round. You go balls to the wall trying to get the fight over with. And Jimmy Flick outlasts you and goes out there in the second round and puts you away, bro. You got put away by Jimmy Flick. Shout out to Jimmy Flick. He gets the win. I'm not sure what has been going on with him, but obviously he's been going through a lot here recently in his personal life. So I was definitely happy to see him get the win, see him get the extra check, see him go home to his family. So shout out to him, bro. But poor Malcolm. I mean, bro. Malcolm. I mean, bro. Just terrible. They might as well get rid of him along with Cachoeira. It's a package deal. Get rid of Malcolm, get rid of Cachoeira, get rid of both of them. Just send them on out of here. So, nevertheless, that was UFC 297. We're going to be on the lookout all week to see what announcement might be coming for the main event of UFC 300. And also, we're looking to have a little bit of light shed on what's going on between Dricus and Israel Adesanya. But that was UFC 297. It's in the books. It's over. Canadian fans are sad. They're depressed unless they're Jillian Robertson fans or Jazz the Vicious fans. So, and Mike Malott is still crying somewhere. Mike Malott, hopefully he got him a good, tall, stern carton of milk, downed it, drowned his sorrows in it, and hopefully he'll be back. Nevertheless, bro, that is UFC 297. I appreciate you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I check you next time. Peace.